Welcome to Shawn and Carter Have a Podcast. My name is Shawn.
And I'm Carter.
Carter, I'm
Shawn.
better. I feel better.
You sound better, man.
I had a full day at work and it was trying, but I made it, and I haven't thrown up in a very long time.
Okay, I am discussing vomiting off of the topics list. It's clearly not working.
Well, we got to try everything once, right?
We gotta try everything once.
You never know unless you do it. And now we've done it.
We've done it, we know.
I'll make sure I put that in the keywords so that...
I'm an analyst. I like to experiment, so I'm not going to just strike vomiting from our future topics list, but people tell us, would you like more vomit discussion? You can inform us. We'll do a little test.
There are so many things that we haven't considered talking about, and then someone brings them up, zombie apocalypse, and for some reason we get, stuck on it. So, who knows?
It's true. Also, I don't have it written down who said Ash as their zombie apocalypse person, but they clearly won that.
That was Bill Steinhardt, who I actually know in real life.
You know him IRL?
IRL. My dad knows him better than I do, but he's been quite a fan of Five Things and my Minecraft videos.
Oh, awesome.
So yeah, he'd said Ash, and I was like, duh. Why didn't we think of that?
You know that they tried to do a movie and it turned out to be a comic book, Freddy vs. Jason versus Ash, right?
No.
Yeah, there's a comic series.
I mean, I gotta say, I'm not very well versed on my Freddy Jason stuff anyway. I know it actually has gotten to bother me more and more. I'm considering making a project out of at least the Nightmare on Elm Street series because I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
I would say, oh man, we gotta watch those on here. I could write a dissertation on Nightmare on Elm Street. Man, yeah, I would say if you were gonna pick one over the other, definitely Nightmare on Elm Street.
I've seen the first 3 of both series. Okay. Because my uncle is quite a horror buff, and we couldn't watch just one. I needed to have an understanding. The third Friday the 13th movie, by the way, is in 3D. Not as much fun when it's in 2D.
No, it's not.
Farmers swinging a rake over your head, and you're like, no, it's just right there on the screen. Not that impressive.
Well, and the third Nightmare movie, Dream Warriors, is so awesomely good.
Dream Warriors. I forgot that was the subtitle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh man, so good. And I would say that the Friday movies, the Friday the 13th movies, are pretty consistently not excellent. Whereas there are highs and lows, so you can have a more interesting discussion about Nightmare, because the highest highs of Nightmare far surpass anything in Friday the 13th, and the lowest lows are much, much, much lower.
Nice. Now I'm convinced we do have to do this. Why hasn't this come up?
This is definitely going to be more difficult. We're going to reveal a horror-related project at the end of this that will be much more accessible to people. But I think doing can't say anything. I think doing those movies will be difficult because they're not easily accessible.
That is true. I got an uncle, apparently. Maybe you guys have an uncle. Maybe you can work it out.
I don't know. We'll think about it. I don't know. Okay. Let's answer some random questions from Ron.
Ron's random questions have gone visual.
He is just all of the modalities, all of the methods of communication. It's
I think we can point to the zombie apocalypse question as a perfect illustration of what can happen. I know it was not his question. What can happen from a random question discussion, because it went online and people were answering. Ron, who's the king of random questions, can totally turn this into his own thing.
Oh yeah. Oh totally.
The amount of questions of his that we don't answer is phenomenal.
We've definitely answered significantly fewer questions than he's asked.
I'd be surprised if we've answered half.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna answer 2 out of I think about 8.
Right.
Past podcast. And we've split it up. We're gonna do one video because he's done a couple video and one from Twitter.
There's a reason we're answering one of the videos and not the other. No offense, Ron, but that second one, whoa.
So what would you put into a bag of holding? So if you don't know, and I didn't
And
know.
Carter didn't know.
Okay.
I had an idea. I definitely knew. I knew that the bag of holding was from D&D, and I knew that it could hold anything. That's pretty much all I know.
Right. Yeah. So it can hold anything. It has, you can put as much in it as you want. Right. So
I think of Hermione's little enchanted bag.
yeah. Did they ever use that in the actual movies?
Yeah, they use it
Yeah.
in the last two, especially.
Okay.
That's why they're on the run with everything, because she's got everything in there. And at one point, Ron reaches in, and you hear this big thud, and she's like, "Oh, there go my books." It's like she had them stacked up nice in there.
Well, and actually, there is a bag of holding that predates all of those. Obviously, the Mary Poppins bag.
Right, and Ron mentioned that. I actually went to that as well before he mentioned it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what? Do you have anything you want to put into a bag of holding? Do you have any thoughts about
I want to put everything in there.
Yeah.
I would love to have. I mean, I'm assuming that this means I can take the bag anywhere on my person, and I don't. It's like I'm picturing Hermione's bag. Like, I don't have to actually carry around a bag that is the size of the object. Is that?
Yeah. Let's say that it's yeah. No. Let's come up with something reasonable. So let's.
I would love to throw a musical instrument or two in a bag that I could have anywhere.
Like a pillowcase. That's you
sure.
can put anything into a pillowcase.
I would love to have like my guitar or a keyboard like within reach at all times. That would be the first thing I would put in my bag.
Interesting. I didn't have anything specific that I wanted to put into the bag of holding, but I just had so many questions since I'd seen the Mary Poppins bag. I obviously knew about Hermione's bag, but like having it so explicitly laid out, like it's this finite object that has an infinite space inside of it. I'm like immediately jumping to like, I have so many questions about this.
What are the quantum implications?
What are the implications of this bag? So first of all,
Imagine walking into a house that is bigger on the inside than on the outside.
Kind of. So first of all, has anyone ever put a bag of holding inside of a bag of holding?
Yeah, you're not doing this right at all.
Okay. Secondly, this is the more interesting thing. So the bag of holding inside, if it can hold anything, and people could disagree with me, it necessarily like it has like an infinite amount of space inside of it, right?
Sure.
So,
yes.
Right. Okay. So I don't want to go through all of the actual like contortions of making this argument, but I can make this argument. I would say that everything is already in that bag because there's an infinite space inside.
You're ruining it. You're ruining a perfectly good question.
And finally, what happens when you turn the bag inside out?
Oh God.
Can you turn a bag of holding inside out? Does it just keep going forever and ever and ever and ever?
It's like the endings of the Men in Black movies where they like reveal that the galaxy is the size of a marble or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I always liked that.
I'm actually kind of out of the entirety of the third movie. I'm looking forward to Josh Brolin's impersonation of Tommy Lee Jones, and I'm looking forward to what they do for the end to try and beat the first two, because the second one was awful.
The second movie was such garbage. I don't even want to go there.
The entirety of the second movie was bad.
The whole thing was so painfully bad. Did Jay Roach do that one too?
I would assume that. I hate that man.
What is he doing?
Oh my God, have you ever heard him interviewed?
No.
Jay Roach is the director of Meet the Parents, like the entire series, the entire franchise of Austin Power movies. He
also just directed Game Change, the 2008 presidential election.
Yes,
movie.
You're right. But that will bring me to my point. No, he did not direct that. He is a horribly boring person.
Oh my God.
I had the very first two DVDs that I bought were Austin Powers 1 and 2. And I watched all the special features because in 2000 whatever, that was what you did. You watched every damn special feature on that DVD because it was a DVD, and that's why you had the DVD and not a VHS tape. And Jay Roach has interviewed side by side Mike Myers, and it is just ridiculous. He's so boring and monotone, and like you're like, how did this man direct Austin Powers? Somehow he did. Not only that, but he's produced movies like Borat.
I don't know, man. How about we just answer another random question? You can try and get your temper back under control.
Nope. I'm gonna go off the handle.
All right. Well, we were talking about a lot of stuff that we hate today, so you should just bottle.
Aren't you gonna even pick one thing to put in the damn bag?
Fine. What would I put?
His answer was razors and what?
I don't remember.
And phone chargers. Can't you think of one thing you'd want to be accessible?
Yes, I can. I have an unreasonable number of shoes, and I frequently am like, I'm wearing these awesome white
He does, and
sneaks.
he's told me that before, audience.
I'm like, I just bought some new shoes. I'm like, oh, I've got these white and blue Sambas, but like, I kind of really want to switch into, most of them are Adidas. I kind of want to switch into like some classics. It's like, I'm not going to carry shoes around with me, one, because like, shoes actually take up an incredible amount of space that you don't think of. And I know this because I have so many shoes and I carry them all around.
I think that every time I look at Alicia and my like few pairs that we have laid out, they take up a huge amount of space on the floor.
Huge amount of space. Like, I have a big backpack, and if you put like 2 shoes in it, like...
It's mostly full.
Shoes, but yeah, it's mostly full. So I would have like all of my shoes in this bag of holding, so I could just change them out easily.
See, that's a perfectly practical answer, and it works as a segue to our next question.
Which is why I sort of one of the reasons why I picked this. We got to guess Ron's shoe size, Sean.
I really wish I knew how tall you were.
I have a sense, but I don't know.
I'm gonna say he wears a men's 10 and a half.
I'm saying a 12.
That is the size that I wear.
I wear an 11 and a half. I think he wears a 12.
I got big goofy feet for some reason.
Big goofy feet. I think he's got, well, I don't know if his feet are goofy, or 12 isn't necessarily big, but I'm saying 12.
And I'm going small.
You're going small, 10 and a half. Men's.
That's not that small. It's just smaller than mine.
That's true. So that's what we think. Oh, we gave away our shoe sizes, Sean. We should have asked people to guess. Well, that was stupid.
It's over.
Guess Alicia's shoe size.
Yeah, I don't even know.
So all of us can guess. I think she wears a ladies 8.
I'll say 7. We'll find out next time.
All right, sir. All right, sir.
Something to bring him back for next time.
Yo, we gotta come back, kids. And if you guys want to guess Alicia's shoe size, or if somehow you've forgotten and don't know how to rewind on iTunes or YouTube, if you want to throw out a guess for Sean and my shoe size, you can tweet at us with SCHP. Or
you can pretend.
You can pretend. Say something like ridiculous. Like a 5 or 17. Did they even go up to 17?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. Well, we gotta keep moving down the path to victory. So Sean sent me a link to a very long YouTube video, and thankfully he told me, like, start here and only watch for, This guy recorded, like,
start at 3 minutes, because that's when he finally gets to the point.
Well, anyway, so I don't know. Do you know the details on this person?
No, I have absolutely... I don't know anything about them.
So a random person on the internet, not unlike the people that you're listening to right now.
Much more well-known than either of us.
Sure. Well, obviously, his video had a lot of views on it. I guess he has kind of like a maybe... I don't know if it's like a news kind of thing he does, but he recorded a video about video games, and specifically Mass Effect 3. I thought Mass Effect 2 just came out recently, so I must be wrong.
No, you're very wrong. Came out 2 years ago, at least.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
I have a very odd conception of time.
Yeah.
So Mass Effect 3 is coming out soon, and there's like a lot of news and a lot of
coverage and
stuff, and people are interested in
marketing. It's everywhere. Hulu, like every other ad is for Mass Effect 3.
That's very interesting. I haven't seen a Mass Effect 3 ad on YouTube at all.
Oh, you're right. I haven't seen that trailer that I keep seeing.
I've seen lots of other trailers that YouTube painfully makes me watch at least the first 5 seconds of every time I want to watch a video now, which is super annoying.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just to get it correct, his name is Total Biscuit. He bills himself as the cynical Brit. That is his subtitle. He has over 600,000 subscribers, which is actually kind of the reason that I was a little miffed about this, but we'll get there.
Okay, so he records this video, and apparently in the Xbox Live store? Is that where this leaked?
Yes, I think so.
Some DLC for Mass Effect 3 leaked accidentally that fleshed out a whole additional story about I have never played this game, and I do not know the name of the race, and I want to say Protoss, but I know that's StarCraft.
Well,
Prothean, a
it
character?
started with P for sure, so...
Oh, man. Sorry, guys. We just never played this game.
Let's just call him Protoss and pretend.
Protoss? People are going to be so mad. I love it. So there's this Protoss character that you can play, which is like a big deal because like
that's what the game is about.
Right, it's about, I guess, like this ancient race, and they've got Wheezy technology, and like the main character like got altered by a Protoss probe, and everyone's like, oh my god, this is so great. They're really expanding the Mass Effect universe and story, and we're going to learn so much about the Protoss because we get to play as one, right? Or at least one will be a part of the story. I guess you wouldn't be playing as one. Well, obviously that's where the story ends, right?
And then everyone was excited, and then they got to play as the Protoss, and then...
Yeah, that's how Shawn and I roll, is like talking about like non-controversial subjects,
right,
in video games and marketing and PR. Well, no, that's not where it is. This guy, I think in some ways he was trying to channel the anger of people in the community as well. So clearly more than just him feels.
Oh sure. Oh sure.
Oh sure.
It's hello. Have you heard of the internet?
Man, the internet is the worst. Except for all the other things that would be worse than the internet. This DLC is going to be available the same day the game comes out, and it's $11.
It doesn't matter. That's not his beef.
It's money. Whatever, fine.
It's money. It's money.
It's money. So he's furious that they're doing this. Like livid that they would have.
He thinks that they've removed a part of the game that you should be able to see for the entry price of the game alone.
Sure, they've like bricked the game as far as he's concerned, right? Like, I guess the way he would describe it is it's like if you bought a smartphone of any variety. Let's say it's an iPhone, and you pay $2.99 for it, and when you go to try and use the phone app, it says you must pay $10 to turn this app on. Right? I think that's what he thinks it is.
Because Mass Effect, as I understand, the Mass Effect series are pretty short games. They're not. They're very long games.
Yeah, I mean, they're not total sandboxes, but I think they're very, very sandboxy, right? Like you can kind of like go wherever you want, and you can deviate.
It is a BioWare game.
Okay, there you go.
They're putting the production value in the game, and this is the main point that I would say to this guy. The game industry tried to do serial gaming and failed. It was called Half-Life 2. It didn't work, and at the same time, the infrastructure for the internet had come far enough that DLC had become a great alternate method to adding content to a game later. And I would say from about that point on, 2005, every game that has DLC, all of the DLC is planned from day one, along with the rest of the game. That's just what they... Exactly. It is designed from the ground up. When LA Noire shipped, they already knew the names of all 3 of the DLCs that were going to be coming out, and you could pre-order a version of the game that would give you the 2 first ones for a discount. Because even though they weren't coming out for like 2 and 3 months, they've been working on them as long as they've been working on the game. It's just part of the... It's just part of the industry now. A game is not $50. A game is hopefully $90 or whatever. They want to get you for every little bit that they add, and this is just another part of it.
Right. Well, and also, I think that he's just simply wrong when he says that he makes this argument, which is, I guess, a little subtle. Not really. That... you know, the studio has X amount of money that they want to use to make a game, right? Let's say it's $100 million. And he's saying that he'd be fine if they used $100 million of those dollars to make Mass Effect 3. His problem is that they used, he thinks, $80 million to make Mass Effect 3 and $20 million to make the DLC. But they're charging 2 different things. They're charging 2 different prices, right? They're charging like the price for Mass Effect 3 and then another price for the DLC. And he feels like in some way, like if it was part of the same project, like that doesn't count.
If it's part of the same project, his logic there doesn't make any sense.
I don't rightly understand why he would have a concern about this. And I mean, it's...
Yeah?
It has a value. I mean, like, the DLC has a value, right? And he's just asking not to pay for it. He just wants to free ride on the developer's work. You know? He wants that for free. And the DLC looks pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, and maybe that's why he feels entitled to it. Because he just wants it so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
But not for the extra money.
Right, he doesn't want to pay for it. You know, it's like... I'm trying to think of analogies. Like, it's... To me... And maybe, you know, call me out, everyone, and Sean, if this analogy is wrong, and I haven't thought it completely through. But it sounds like he wants to pay, like the $8 to see a movie that you pay at a movie theater. But he wants to go see a 3D movie and not have to pay the extra for the glasses and all that, right? He's like, no, I want that stuff for free because that was part of that project. Why are you making me pay for all this extra stuff? Let me see the 3D movie for the $8 price, not the $13 price.
So I see merit in complaining that the game is not what you wanted it to be. But I would say it is completely within BioWare's right to choose what is in the game, what is going to be added to the game, how much you pay for the game, how much you pay for the DLC. That's exactly what their business is, and that's why they're doing it. Like, game companies get to charge what they want for what portions of the game that they want. There's all, like, is he going to start complaining about the gimmick games on Facebook and the mobile markets that charge to play? Does he feel entitled to the game of them without having to pay for the tokens or whatever that you need to play them?
Sean just said, like, go watch this video, and I sat through it just, like, flabbergasted that he was so sure of himself. Like, this is so obvious that they shouldn't be charging for this DLC. And it's like, no, that's not obvious at all.
And I'm worried that he's got this 600,000 strong audience, many of them young, impressionable teenagers who are now going to think that when a game company decides to charge what they want, you have to boycott them.
Well, no. I actually think that their strategy will be more nefarious. It will be that you should pirate it.
Well, yeah, there's that too.
Right. I mean, I think that would be his next logical step. It's not like, well, let's not boycott. We want this content, but we think it should be free, and we have this mechanism for getting it for free. So go get it for free.
Slippery slope.
Yeah. So anyway, let's continue the joy train here. Sean had an interesting question. I'm
glad I have interesting ones every so often.
Yeah. He posed to me, and I want to let's ask of everyone. Ask them your question.
It occurred to me, since we've been talking about this Google, we've moderately brought up the Google privacy policy, and we've talked about whether Google still has good intentions. And there was one day while I was laying on the couch and not doing a whole lot that I was like, I wonder if I could actually have a whole day, 24 hours, where I don't interact with the Google product in any way. And as I was having that thought, I was about to use Spotify, and I was like, oh wait, Alicia might be using that, and absentmindedly just opened up Google Music and then was like, damn it, here I am again. But in order to remove Google from my life for a day, I couldn't use my phone, and I could not do anything for my 5 Things business at all.
Mm-hmm. I can't use Google.
I'm saying that I can't. I'm saying the things that I'd have to give up are impossible for me to give up for 24 hours.
I mean, I have thought about this, like getting my personal email address on something else, using Bing, whatever, but my work email is a Gmail account, and I have to be available on my work email. So no, I cannot. Dude, I can't do it. So we want to know if anyone else can. Although, so here's something I wanted to bring up.
I want this to lead to a larger conversation where we try to decide whether or not we are totally at Google's will.
Yes, we will talk more about Google. There are a lot of thoughts about this. Also, did you see that they're going to do a heads-up display glasses thing? Have you seen this?
Yes, I've been keeping track of it.
Okay, we'll talk about that too.
Hey, I want to make the point to the people who here's our one bit of follow-up. The point that we were making about the Windows logo, which I was not even being that emphatic about. Lots of other people on the internet made the exact same points. I think we are in the majority, but for some reason our commenters are in the minority, and they needed to let us know.
To psychoanalyze our commenters a little bit, I think that a lot of them are PC advocates, and that's kind of like their OS. So any attack on that OS is sort of sounds like an attack from
It wasn't an attack on the OS. It was an attack on someone in their marketing department.
Exactly. I have whole other reasons to attack their operating system.
Right. That's unrelated. A separate discussion.
I just think it's boring and uninteresting. And yes,
many people brought up the same points we did.
Yes, and yes, whoever said that I find the R distracting to be nitpicky, I'm nitpicky, and I realize that it's a registered trademark, but I also think that it's visually cluttered.
A logo should be nitpicked.
Should be nitpicked to death, anyway. Wanted to bring up a point about YouTube, okay? This is awesome. I will likely continue talking about Mountain Lion little bits here and there as we move forward. Mountain Lion gets a kind of a host of features from the iPad that enable sharing across every application that runs that will run on 10.8.
Okay.
It's just like a little widget button thing. It looks like a little box with an arrow coming out of it. And it's contextual, so wherever you are, you can click it, and it'll give you all the different sharing options. You can email this, you can tweet this, you can, whatever it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I like that button.
Right. Good button. Very good button. It has a video sharing option. However, the iPad and the iPhone, when you go to share something, you do have an option to push it to YouTube. Okay. In Mountain Lion, the video sharing option is Vimeo. No option to push it to YouTube. If you want to go, if you want to post a video or something that you have on your computer, if you want to put it on YouTube, you need to go to YouTube and upload it.
Huh.
But if you want to post it to Vimeo, you just click 2 buttons.
I don't have a Vimeo account yet, but
there you go. And when asked, because people asked Apple, like, so what's up with this
Vimeo thing?
I've used Vimeo before. I think it's really great. I really like their playback. I like it a lot better than YouTube. And some people asked Apple, like, hey, what's going on with this thing? And they said, like, do you plan on ever having YouTube? Why didn't you include YouTube? Apple's response was 2 sentences, or it was 1 sentence separated by a comma. We have Vimeo. We don't have YouTube.
Yep.
That's it. It's just like, okay, they're not talking about this.
Good.
So that's another shot across the bow.
Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting?
Every time you say mountain lion, I really wish that we had like a soundboard. You just have like.
Oh man, now I really, really want that. Maybe we'll figure that out.
No, that would be a horrible thing.
Because then we'd just get more and more things.
Put a bunch of bad movie quotes on there, and then we'd be a college radio station.
Yep. I was gonna say morning zoo, but yep, college radio station just as
okay.
Silly. So Apple is. Everyone, let us know if you think you can do a day without without Google. If you're watching the YouTube version of this video, you can't count today.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to know how less people are entangled with Google than I am. Like, who? Yeah. What is the average entanglement level of a average teenager with Google products?
Yeah. So, Apple is not the only people taking shots at Google. There is a new white knight trying to fight Google, and it's Microsoft.
Why? Why do they care? They're only competing against them in how many different markets?
It's just insanity. God love Microsoft, you know.
Microsoft is competing more with Google in different areas than I bet Apple is.
Yeah, probably ish. Something like that. I wouldn't say that there is any real competition between, or any strong competition between Windows and OS X, really. I don't think that is like a hot area of competition. I think that market is basically, it is what it is.
There's not much graphic overlap there.
No, I mean, I think that there are people who are I bet that there are hardly any people who are defecting from OS X to Windows, and that there are some people who are defecting from Windows to OS X. But mostly, you know, you got Windows in the corporate sphere, and you know, a whole bunch of legacy machines, and then cheaper, laptops. People don't use desktops anymore, right?
I wish I didn't have to.
Well, there you go. Yeah, the mobile space, web, search, social. Microsoft doesn't have any social stuff.
They did try.
But yeah, they are like in a fierce competition, and I think it's funny. I mean, it's obviously a serious business strategy, right? But I think it's funny that it's like, yeah, if like 5 years ago. So, 2006, 2007, if you said, in the tech market in 5 years, the 2 fiercest, bitterest rivals will be Microsoft and Google.
It wouldn't even make sense.
Right? You'd be like, what?
You mean wait, the search engine?
Right. 2005, I think that Gmail was still in beta.
Gmail was still in beta until like 2010.
Yeah, Gmail was in beta for like 10 years. But yeah, they didn't have nearly as many products as they did.
In 2005, YouTube started.
Yes.
And it was not a Google product.
It was not.
That happened later.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to point everyone to is this just comically, hysterically bad video from Microsoft that I shared with John.
How bad is it supposed to be, though?
I think it's supposed to be bad, but I think it's also bad.
It is definitely hated very much.
I think that it's supposed to be bad, and it also kind of failed as what it was trying to be.
Too overt, maybe? I mean, it's really overt.
So what we're talking, go watch this video. It's kind of long-ish for a YouTube video. It's 4 or 5 minutes long, I think.
Was it that long?
Maybe 3 minutes? I felt like it was kind of long.
I didn't think it was 4 or 5. But yeah, it was long. It wasn't just an ad.
No, it's not just an ad. It's called Don't Trust the Goog-lighting Stranger. I can't even say
Yeah, what a good title.
Oh, man. So there's this guy who he looks like a used car salesman. He's wearing a white suit with a primary colors tie that looks like Google. Right? He's white with that. He looks like their main landing page, right? It's all white with one little bit of color in the center. And he just comes shuffling into this office to try and sell.
It's only 2 minutes long. You're really exaggerating.
Felt so long. Time will dilate as you watch this video. He's trying to sell the Google Apps product line to presumably some IT manager,
right,
or whomever, and she keeps asking him questions, and he's like, well,
questions that you would probably ask,
right? And it's just making the point that Google Apps, like Google has a lot of products that they try for a while and then they just pull and they fail, and it has none of the functionality of the Office suite. It is not very stable. Just like all the stuff that you would complain about with Google products. But
they made a very big point out of something that I did not think was really that big of a deal, which was you have to have internet. You have to have internet. I was like, okay, it's 2012. Like, if you're talking about business, and they were talking about business, if they don't have the internet, there are a lot of other reasons that they're screwed.
Yeah, and also, Microsoft is about to really push Office 360, which is basically their version of Google Apps, which requires the internet.
It's not their version of Google Apps. Google Apps was their version of Office.
Right, exactly. Okay, so it's Office in the cloud. They call it Office 360, right. But it's like you can collaboratively work on Excel documents and Word documents, and you can store them in some sort of cloud depository.
Some cloud locker in the sky.
Thing. Magic server in the sky. So watch that video. It is hysterical. Also, it has a lot of dislikes.
Yeah, it's got it's at 750,000 hits, and it has 11,000 dislikes, 4,000 likes, and the comments are just scathing. People think that Microsoft is dumb for doing this. I understand what Microsoft is doing, and I think that they're making good points. I just wish that their marketing department knew what they were doing. They're trying to appeal to YouTube, and they're trying way too hard. Way too hard.
Yeah. My thought on this is I mentioned this offline to Shawn. Microsoft takes a very public. They're very public about this type of communication, like rivalry communication. It's sort of like the anti-Apple strategy. Apple's strategy is just be like, no, we're Apple computers. We were founded in 19 blah blah blah.
We have Vimeo. We do not have YouTube.
We have Vimeo. We don't have YouTube. We are not going to talk about anything. And then you don't subsequently see like Phil Schiller tweet like, some snarky thing. The execs at Microsoft tweet snarky things all the time, constantly. Compared to like what you would expect. You wouldn't expect that to be tweeting and all this public communications. And it's not just the communications people. I mentioned Phil Schiller. He's like worldwide product marketing. They have like other people do it too, who happen to just be at this senior level. I would think that this
it's in your contract.
Basically, yeah. Well, probably
be snarky on Twitter.
Is. So I would bet that the intended audience for that video was probably very small, and it wasn't YouTube people. That it was actually a signal to other companies like Facebook and Twitter, you know, like, hey, we're like taking on Google, and we're gonna do it through lots of different means, you know, lots of different, you know, means of communication.
I wanted to compare it to something in Mad Men, but I just realized that you're not there yet, so I can't. Damn it, Carter.
You can if you want to.
Nope.
Okay. Okay. That was noble of you.
It's too good to ruin. Before
we transition off of technology into, well, we're still going to be talking about YouTube, but talking about artsy fartsy YouTube. I just wanted to mention, we'll probably mention this again when it actually happens, that new products coming out from Apple in early March, and it is over 100% certain that either when it launches or soon thereafter, the iPad 3 and probably the whole iPad line will be getting Office. Some touch version of Office for iOS is going to happen.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's when I'll buy an iPad. I mean, what?
I mean, I would love to have Excel on my iPad. I have Numbers, and I can go on Google Apps.
Carter was talking about Excel, a couple Excel things before the podcast. He talked about for 10 seconds. I had no idea what he was talking about.
Excel is like, it's one of the best.
You immediately lost me. And I was like, oh, spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets are so great.
Rows, columns.
You know what a row and a column is, don't be.
Yeah, those are the things I know. The things that you were saying, I was like, nope.
I was just saying that, well, and I bet that a lot of those more advanced features won't be on the iOS app, but prove me wrong, Microsoft. The main reason I can use the Numbers app okay on the iPad, and I can do some simple things in it, and it will open an Excel spreadsheet, but it doesn't export to Excel. So I can't send a Numbers spreadsheet to every other PC in my office. Everyone, you know.
You want everyone making fun of you?
Exactly. And frankly, I like.
Hey, Excel. iPad boy.
I know, I was teased so much for my awesome iPad.
You're the one laughing.
I am laughing. I love that iPad. Life. Game changer. Game changer. So that's another big threat for Google. And also, I just thought of this now. It's interesting that they would do that because they're going to start offering tablets. I'm wondering if they are testing out their UI on iOS before, you know, making all the big changes over to Metro, or if they're, I don't know, I have no idea.
It's very obvious that Microsoft, the way they're approaching Windows 8 is paying attention to what Apple's gotten right about their operating system. So doing that, scouting for tablet functionality, I'm sure is exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's sort of a...
if I were them, I would want to get a little more buddy-buddy with Apple.
Frankly, yeah. I mean, Microsoft is one of the big remaining, and I'm just going to say software companies that isn't on iOS, that it will now be on iOS in a big way. And I think it's a big move. The only other one that I can think of right now that, like, oh, hey, they're not on iOS, that's kind of surprising, is Nintendo. Nintendo is, for all intents and purposes, a software company. The software they make is video games, but they're a huge video game company, the biggest video game company, or, you know, they're sort of scaling down. And
I think Nintendo and Apple's ideologies would go extremely well together.
Exactly, and I think that's probably why Nintendo... Well, I think that they have very similar worldviews, and that's probably why Nintendo doesn't want to put their stuff on iOS, because they don't control the platform, you know?
And
so like, no, we want...
Nintendo's very much like Apple about the way they control their platform.
They're crazy. Crazy people. We talked about that on some Diversion many podcasts ago.
We always end up talking about Nintendo.
Yeah, well, because I love Nintendo. I'm still reading Game Over, which is a history of Nintendo. I'm like halfway through it. It's excellent. If you don't have it, get it. It's like $12 on a Kindle, I think. It is great, and yeah, they're very, very, very similar to Apple. But I would be surprised if Nintendo came onto iOS, just as I was surprised to see that Microsoft is coming onto iOS. But I think Microsoft needs it more, and Apple would totally be down for it because that's going to sell a lot of iPads.
Yep. It'll hopefully have business people who have been holding out for some better functionality, maybe looking into iPads.
Yep. All right. Well, if we haven't lost everyone, we'll move on to a topic that everyone should enjoy.
And we assigned it as homework, so hopefully people are well versed and fresh.
Yes.
And if you're not, it will be in the info, and you can go watch it right now.
You have to do a frame by frame analysis.
That's what I did.
I'm sure you did. So I just know that I really like these videos, but I wanted Shawn to tell me why I liked them so much.
Wait. I need to understand your psychology.
You understand me fine. So what'd you think? What'd you think of the Wigged Man trilogy? Is it all that it was? You know, did it live up to the hype?
Yeah, it did.
So too.
I caught up on Wheezy Waiter entirely, as I said last week. The reason I hadn't watched it is because I couldn't bear to just watch those three without catching up, and I thought I would catch up, but I didn't. Now I have, and I've watched every Wheezy Waiter video. I started at the middle of November last year and caught the whole way back up.
Wow.
Man, he makes some good videos. He makes some really good videos. There's one back in there that I'm still kind of scratching my head about how he did something.
Ooh, that's always good.
A timing thing. Oh, it was really good. But anyway, he made this trilogy of black and white noir films that are told from the perspective of what we're told is a freshly created clone, although I don't know if that's the case or not. But his freshly created clone is sent out to look for Craig with a wig.
He is. And actually, there's a sort of a prelude to those three videos, an Explosion Wednesday video before them. This clone is around, and Craig is upset, and Craig sort of hints at what is going on with Craig with a wig, and then the actual trilogy happens.
Right. And he just shot it like all of his other stuff, but the way that he edits, and first of all, he made it black and white, which really helped. Second, he added a lot of voiceover, which he doesn't normally do. He always has voiceover somewhere, but not like this. And then then of course the biggest thing he had to do was tilt his camera in every single shot.
Yep, there were Dutch angles in everyone.
Every single shot. Looked good.
Did look good. Looked great.
So I think I mentioned racking focus last week, and you were like,
yeah.
Racking focus is just when the camera is focused either on the foreground or background and switches.
Okay. I know what that
without
is.
cutting, like it will transform the focus of the shot. That is racking focus.
I know. I've seen that. I'm letting you explain your things.
He likes to use it a lot, but it also means that someone needs to be shooting, so he can't. I don't think he can use it all the time.
Right.
He needs a girlfriend
yeah, that's a good
or
point.
something.
Good point. Yeah, exactly. Which he has.
Yeah, he does, and a brand new couch.
Yeah, all the filmmaking stuff impressed me. I'm sure that Shawn was more technically impressed with every little thing.
It just makes me want to make one.
And the thing beyond that, like, so there's a not being a YouTube content creator myself, but analyzing them frequently, I think that there is probably among everyone who ever makes any product, but we're talking specifically about YouTube, there's this like disjunction between, you know, idea and execution, right?
Oh my god, it's sometimes it's like a chasm.
Right. There's this space.
I'm like, why does this not look the way it looks in my head?
Right. So, like, I love the idea, but if he had not been skilled enough to execute at this level, it would have completely failed. Totally been worthless and not good, not fun, not interesting. You'd have been like, it would have looked like a bad student film.
Yeah, it could have easily gone that way.
which it didn't. So that speaks highly to his talent and his skill that he was able. I mean, I think anybody, not anybody, but I think a lot of people can come up with like a really good idea, right? I could come up with a really good idea. I can't make a video of it.
He had been planning this at least for some time, because at the end of December, he made a video where he showed a whiteboard of things that he intended to do in the next year of making videos. And one of them you could see on the board said noir films.
Yeah, very interesting.
So he'd been thinking about it at least for at least for 6 weeks, if not longer. He must have been planning it.
Right.
And I think he said it was only supposed to be 2 parts, and it ended up becoming 3 because the story just happened.
Yeah, and what a story it was. So it kind of it delves, or it relies heavily on what I would say the clone mythology of Wheezy Waiter. Kind of our biggest hits clones are featured prominently: Sexy Clone and Quiet Clone. And Craig with a Wig,
and
who
Revenge
isn't
Clone,
a clone, and Revenge Clone, and Craig with a Wig is something else.
The clones who are not dead, basically.
The clones who lived,
who have escaped the pit.
Exactly. And it follows like a total boilerplate noir structure. We have our investigator. He's trying to get to the bottom of something. He canvasses a bunch of shady people. There's no threat like you would have in a noir film to like the prime investigator. Like usually he's being chased or someone's after him. That doesn't really happen in this. But other than that, it really does follow like a pretty classic noir frame.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just funny.
Very funny. And like, you ever listen to Prairie Home Companion?
Yeah.
Guy Noir, Private Eye. It's basically the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Very funny noir.
Right. And we shouldn't spoil this, I don't think. If people do you want to?
I don't want to. I really feel like people should find out what happened to Craig with a Wig. If they're at all interested, you should go find out.
Yes. It's worth your time. It's worth the maybe 12 minutes, 13 minutes across 3 videos that you'll have to watch.
I'm going to say this. I hope that the story does not end where it ends. I hope that is only the setup. But knowing a guy who has to make 4 videos a week that all take place in this little universe, there's no way that's the end of that story.
Right. Well, that story has not yet had any impact on his other videos, right?
No, unless it was on the most recent one, but I doubt it.
I haven't seen the most recent one, but I don't think so. So he's either keeping that in his back pocket, saving it for later. Maybe he will.
One of the things in the resolutions video where he's naming things he's going to do was something he's been planning since the very first day he moved into his new apartment, which was, I don't know, 8 months ago or something. He alluded to that something was going on with his washer and dryer, and he never explained it. And he pointed it out in the resolutions video. So something is coming with the washer and dryer. I don't know what.
Interesting.
I know.
Sounds scary. Like the way you describe it, like something is coming with the washer.
Well, it's kind of like me with my door. I've never explained the creepy door.
Sure.
It's a long running gag, but who knows what's actually behind it? I don't. I think Delta does. He's not talking.
Something involving a bag of holding.
It's Inside Out.
Him and Prime are trying to get a bag of holding Inside Out.
So Wheezy Waiter must have inspired you, because I see on the show notes that our future project involves YouTube.
It does. So we have been basically stalling for 3 weeks now.
Yep.
What our next video series is going to be. We didn't have one when we finished Captain America. We punted the 4 weeks. Whatever. We've been just like, we didn't know what to do. And someone actually like had a good they had a good thing to do, but I'm just going to put that in the notes for like down the road. And something that all of the videos that we've been doing that has bothered me slightly is that they're not 100% accessible for either free or for a nominal fee, like Netflix.
Right.
Like, there's always been something where it's like you're gonna have to rent it, you're gonna have to like get it on iTunes, you're gonna have to like do something, Amazon Prime, whatever.
Ask your uncle.
Ask your uncle. Although we will do those. I thought it would be nice for a change of pace to offer something up that everybody could watch if they wanted to. And that's
if you're listening to this, you will be able to watch it.
Yep. So
maybe. I mean, unless you're afraid.
Unless you're afraid, because we're gonna observe horror in in March. So a long time ago, a very long time ago, I don't even remember what this was related to. Will mentioned this video series. I had not heard of it either. Do you remember this? This is how I heard about it.
No.
He's like, that reminds me of Marvel. He was like, that reminds me of Marble Hornets.
That's right. That was his comment, and I was, was it an intro of 5 things or something, or was it something we did?
Oh, man, it had to be 5 things. It had to be a video on 5 things. I'm trying to think of what would be like Marble Hornets from 5 things, but it's like there've been so many of those things. Hey, Will, what was the thing?
If you remember.
Also, if you remember, what was the thing that reminded you of Marble Hornets? And also, I leaked that we're doing Marble Hornets to him on Twitter because I need him to answer something for me. So, if you guys don't know, Marble Hornets is a very long-running YouTube series. I think it's been going on since 2008, I want to say.
Sounds right. Several years.
Several years. It's usually called an ARG? Is that what it's called? An alternative reality game?
Yeah, sure.
It's something online that claims to be real, and it's kind of like unfolding. This is a sort of a very artistic.
It kind of acts like it's happening in real time.
Yes. So Marble Hornets is a series right now of 52 videos plus some other videos from another YouTube channel. And what I'm asking Will is whether he thinks we should watch those too, because they're very strange and they're like, they don't sync up. You have to know which ones. You have to basically have a timeline, because the Marble Hornets videos are labeled 1 through 51, but the To the Arc videos, the separate stuff, it's just like it just has a name. So I'm sort of torn whether we want to do them. Marble Hornets purports to be the recovered footage of Alex Crawley, who was a art school film
school student.
Film school student who was making his student film called Marble Hornets, and some very strange things started to happen to him on while he was filming, and his friend Jay recovers these videos and begins watching them and posting relevant clips to YouTube over time. And then Jay begins to get pulled into this world as well. There are 2 seasons, so there's sort of like the first part of the story, which I think is something like 20 videos, and then a second part which very, very recently ended, like 4 or 5 months ago, I want to say. Okay. So we're gonna watch those.
How much are we watching for next time?
Okay, so I have seen all of Marble Hornets, so I will help guide us. So we are gonna watch 6 videos, and they total about 10 minutes. Some of them are very short. Some of them are like 45 seconds long. So I will send Shawn the video links, but we're watching the introduction and then entries 1 through 5.
Okay.
So that is everyone's homework. We're going to watch the introduction and entries 1 through 5. You should probably watch it like at night in the dark.
I think I will try to
get the full effect.
I'll try and make it spooky.
Yeah.
And then in other spooky watchable things on the internet, Carter, you should check out the Cabin in the Woods trailer, because we've been excited about this Joss Whedon produced film for a little while, but I think the trailer is going to change whatever might be in your mind about this movie.
Really?
I don't know if it's for the better or worse, but when I saw the trailer, and I think Alicia would agree, it's not at all what I was expecting to see.
I mean, Cabin in the Woods is one of the few movies that's on my calendar to watch.
Wow. It's important.
Avengers, yeah, with Avengers and Dark Knight. So we'll see.
There are a couple things. I think we should, when we talk about Marble Hornets next week, let's start by talking about Cabin in the Woods.
So, additional homework: go watch the trailer if you dare. And we will discuss.
The trailer is probably not as scary as the Marble Hornets videos. It's pretty much just a trailer.
Okay. And I will say one thing about Marble Hornets. Some people don't like it, and some people don't think it's very scary. So I think that'll be an interesting, discussion to have.
Most things that I don't think are scary, I can tell that they are scary, even if I don't think that, even if they don't scare me.
Right. And Marble Hornets particularly requires for it to be scary to you. It's not very visually it's scary. It requires that you buy into what's happening.
You need the tension and to feel the suspense.
Yes, and also to imagine that this could happen to you. So, take that for what it's will. That was not a sentence. Take that for what you will, and go watch a whole bunch of stuff, and we'll talk about it next week.
Cool, man.